Hello. Oh wait. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Model Monstrosities. So in this video, yeah, I want to make some more Model Monstrosities. But yeah, I made a sketch of the monster I want to make first. Yeah, the crawler. The original plan was for him to have 4 legs, but he has 2 in the back. I thought this would be pretty good if I chopped off the front 2 legs and used the body and the legs, and chopped off pretty much everything else. Started with some sharp wire cutters, which I cut myself a few times on. Yeah. The head will be a little harder.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah, you get those parts. So I used a Dremel for the head. Dremel's pretty nice for it, pretty noisy too, and pretty messy. And if you have your arm in the wrong spot while doing it, it'll throw molten plastic at your arm. So, be careful while you're having your arm. Just, yeah, be careful. Don't chop your hand off. And you get some pretty nice puppets after you chop these heads off as well.
Hello, I am the giraffe puppet. I am going to steal this Dremel.
Okay, so this is the body I think I'm going to use. I did chop the tail off. But I don't know what the feet either. So, I have a lot of dinosaur toys. I guess not specifically dinosaur toys, but toys. For making monsters, mostly. And this is the point in the build where you have the body of the monster you want to use, which is the main part, and you just want to get bits and parts off of other dinosaur toys. Oh my gosh, it's still going. Who edited this video? Alright, yeah. So yeah, these are the dinosaur toys. Yeah, I have a lot. They're pretty useful, though. Pretty sure at least most of these were bought for making monsters. I love the big ones. Okay, let's put these away. Yeah. Now time for the head. So I'm using this little plastic guy, this guy for the jaw, or this guy for the jaw. In my first video, I actually chopped this guy's jaw off, but he grew it back. Not really. This is just another toy, and I couldn't find the old jaw. Of course, after I chopped this one off, I found it. Pretty sure that this one won't work. I did test out the orange jaw, but I kind of like the red jaw. Looked more creepy. Looked a little dumb, too, but that's okay. I trimmed down this a bit because I wanted to add the neck. Because, as you can see, yeah, time to move on to the neck. So I thought this guy's tail looked pretty good for the neck. It was kind of flexible, about the right size, pretty long. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it for the tail or for the neck at first, but I decided to use it for the neck. Yeah, looks pretty good. But yeah, here I'm using an emery board to sand down the top and the tail a bit, mostly to help glue adhere to it better. You guys might be the last ones seeing the inside of this dinosaur toy. Chopped off the tip so the head would fit on. And so I actually ended up using wire cutters instead of scissors. Always keep a pair of wire cutters next to you. Time to move on to the tail. Here I'm using this Carnotaurus. whatever, dinosaur tail. For the tail, it was pretty long and it had spikes on the back, kind of like I did the drawing of him with spikes on the back. I also sanded that one down. Yeah, heat gun, obviously. I heated it up, and bend it into place.
Can I borrow that cutting device?
It worked okay. It kind of like reversed the direction of which way it was going. It didn't work all that well, but I liked that position better. But yeah, here I was using super glue and baking powder. If you don't know, baking powder speeds up super glue drying and supposedly strengthens it. I actually repositioned the neck later. That was pretty weird. But yeah, glued the head on. Yeah, but this is a coaster. Plastic, unloved. Found it at the thrift store. Or bought it from the thrift store. I was going to use the arms that I had repositioned to be the arms from the giraffe for the arms of the crawler. But I didn't like that idea. Well, it wasn't a bad idea, but it didn't look that great. So I'm going to use this lizard's arms. I actually picked this one up a day before I put the arms of him on. I can't seem to pick what arm I want. This one looked pretty good. It was actually a really good choice. And then I also used this one. Yep, armature wire. Yeah, who would have guessed? I got a longer piece, looped it at the end, and then twisted it together. And then I would stick another piece into that loop and twist it around the parts I had already twisted together, if that makes any sense. Because I wanted it to be robotic on the inside. I'll talk more about that later. But yeah. Drilled a hole in him, and then glued it on. You also may have noticed I glued on the arms, too. One of my favorite arms that I picked out was kind of tilted, like it looked like his wrist was tilted, which is kind of how I want it, but the other one wasn't, so I had to trim that one down a bit. But yeah, here I'm using the hands I chopped off as the feet for him. Oh, and it's finger time. I used toothpicks to make the shape of the finger, and then coated those toothpicks in super glue, and then dipped them into baking powder, and it made for a pretty cool texture. Oh, and have you seen this trick? Balancing a toothpick. I'm pretty good at it. Okay, yeah, that's a joke. Yeah, there's super glue on there. But yeah, I'm gonna move this around. Oh man, I told you. Yeah, time for the spikes. Or spines, as you might want to call them. This is the Carnotaurus, or Carnotaurus, or whatever. Anyway, I chopped off his tail earlier, and I'm going to be using his spikes, because they match the spikes on the back of the tail, and they look good. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good.
We'll stick it in there.
Yeah.
The next one, my thought is
So,
big
what am I doing?
for the skeletons, these guys.
Oh yeah, I was gonna make a hive queen, and for these scuttlers that I made in my first video,
You probably know that already.
I thought it'd be pretty cool. I think what I'm gonna use is some Final Faction parts mostly. You can get those from the dollar store. Yeah. This is my Final Faction bits box. It's pretty full. I should probably use some of them. But yeah, I'm gonna dig through it, look for my bug-looking bits for this gigantic bug. I did talk about the scuttlers a little bit in my first video. There's a story behind them. But yeah. So I did set aside my bug-looking bits and a few other bits that looked pretty good for what I was doing. So here they are. I got a lot.
What is that one doing?
What is that doing in there? Here they are. So my thought is for the main shape thing of the Hive Queen would be using this a bug thing for the or from the Final Faction figure series. You can get them from the dollar store. Yeah, that's where I get some of my dinosaur toys too. So I pulled off the legs and the turret. And that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm not sure if I like that swoopy thing in the back, but... these are the legs from the bug thing. I'm going to be chopping them in half and repositioning them, and I probably should have sanded them down a bit more than I did to make them more adhere better to the glue. The glue adhere better to it, whatever. I have a plan for this guy's body. I have it because I stole the legs off of him. But yeah, I glued the legs back on, and it was an absolute awful thing to do. But thanks to editing, I skipped past most of that. But here I was using isopropyl alcohol to speed up the drying a bit. I guess I don't know if it speeds up the curing process of superglue, if there's such a thing for superglue, but it hardens it while the rest is drying, mostly enough to hold on to it. Makes it kind of tacky. Holds on to the, whatever it is. Water would probably work just fine too, but isopropyl alcohol seems to help just a wee bit better. But yeah, here I'm using PRUNERS because the plastic's kind of thick. But anyway, I wanted to add the eyes using hemispherical rhinestones, not the gemstone version. This is the smooth on one side, hemispherical version. But what I would do was I'd dip this pin thing in super glue, put it onto the hemispherical rhinestone, and then put it onto the bug after dipping that into super glue. But yeah, here I'm got out my glass bottle collection, because what will be a scuttler without their glass bottles? Again, I talked a little bit about them in my first video. Bit of a more messy workstation, huh? Check this out.
Wait, anyway.
Yeah, pretty clean now. Well, sort of clean, but anyway. Yeah. She's looking pretty good. But,
anyway, next step.
Yeah, I want to fill up those bottles with some sort of liquid stuff. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about her later. Yeah, Mod Podge. This is the matte version. I mixed it into some red oxide paint to make some sort of liquid. I don't know what it is, but why am I still unscrewing? Whoa, let's keep going. Anyway, I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's some kind of liquid. Oh, there we go. Yeah, mix that into the Mod Podge. Mix the Mod Podge into the paint, I mean. But yeah, here I was using this syringe to plastic thing to get some paint and Mod Podge into the bottle. UV resin would probably be better, you know, shining the light through the thing. But yeah, here I was looking for a base. This base was, yeah, pretty cheap at the thrift store, and, but the problem was it was a little big. I don't like big bases. Or bases that are too big.
Never mind. It's
Like,
big.
way too big. And that one's pretty big. Yeah, these are the backs off of DVD boxes. And I figured I'd chop off part of it, or cut off part of it, to use it for a base. The funny thing is, I can't recycle this one to a base, at least not a larger one, without this recycle symbol in the middle. The recycle symbol is not allowing me to recycle it. I could recycle it, but it wouldn't be as big as the other one. Yeah. Marked out the base I wanted, and then cut it out. I used pruners and scissors. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Ah, yes, this is workstation number 2. But wait, where did this come from? That you might be asking yourself. When did you make this? You gotta show us everything, man. Well, allow me to, show... By the way, supposedly PVA glue is school glue, so. Plaster of Paris, water, glue, and a little bit of that red oxide paint. It was a paint I got recently, so I was kind of excited to try it. But it ended up just being pink. Mostly pink. But yeah, I spread it on top of the stuff and let it dry. And that would bring us back to the present. Yeah, I wanted to work on the other base, though. I want it to be a sort of junkyard thing. You'd understand a little bit if you listened to the story I told in my first video. Yeah, a lot of talking about my first video in this video. Yeah. Anyway, I chopped up these mesh things that I got off. They came with some flower pots or something. Probably for straining out the water or something. I chopped them up into the cup thing. And then got out some beads, and then poured those in. Also had a little bit of that mesh tape stuff, and then some glue, and also some paint, and I mixed it up real good. And then spread it along the surface. Okay, maybe I didn't mix it up that good. I probably should have mixed it up just a wee bit better. And I should have made the color more rusty. But yeah, here I'm cracking up that plastery stuff that I made. That's why I made it. I wanted to make a cracked looking ground. Yeah. Probably should have used more fine mesh. And waited for it to dry longer. But anyway, then I spread glue onto the coaster that I'm using for the base of the crawler. And yeah, basically put it together like a cracked cookie. Anyway, I wanted to make a barrel for that junkyard base. I'm using this empty marker. And I sawed it up. I trimmed down some of the little bits and pieces that had come off. But yeah, here I'm getting out some thick paper. Not too thick, but usually some of the colored paper is reasonably thick. Not too bad. In this case, I did want sort of thick paper, though.
But yeah, and then I tripped them into little strips and glued that around the barrel. And then for the top, I was going to be using this French onion dip cover. It's kind of like my styrene equivalent. I've never actually used styrene, so I don't know if it's an equivalent. But, you know, you see all those other YouTubers using it, and I don't think it's super cheap stuff, and this is, I think it's free. So, yeah. Pretty much just get a hold of any soft plastic covers that you can. You'll notice that they're, it's pretty common. I mean, there's the dip, there's the yogurt, and yeah, there's a lot of different types of things like that. But yeah, here I'm using, a 1mm hole puncher to make a little latch thing. Yep. Got container, toilet paper, glue, and this stuff. Might be like, what in the heck are you doing with toilet paper, man? Well, I'm gonna make some Sculptamold stuff.
Well, he was in here.
I have realized that it's a really good way to make super cheap Sculptamold. Yeah, I also
that's
water.
awesome.
Thanks, editor me. But anyway, yeah, you see all those other YouTubers using Sculptamold. I don't see many YouTubers use this technique. I've seen like maybe one video where they use toilet paper. Toilet paper works really, really well. It really does. Really does. Although, I did a whole day
Of not recording it all. I just let it dry because it takes a long time to dry. But yeah, here I'm getting out sculpting tools. Maybe like, dude, do you really need to sculpt toilet paper? I'm doing the milliput stage here. Milliput is a 2-part epoxy putty stuff. I like it because I don't really like air dry things. I like some air dry things, but like air dry clays that shrink a lot, I do not like. I just don't. Yeah, no,
Painting time.
Basically, I just dipped my fingers in water and then brushed, wiped it all over the guys, blended them in, and tried to copy the texture that was on them. It's pretty fun. It works pretty well too. Might be my favorite stage of making these guys, but yeah. Anyway, I'm painting. Giving them both a black base coat. So, the crawler. My thought is they're not literal. Yeah. So they're in this world that I made up. The world I made up. It's a planet, it's another universe. Yeah, I talked about my first video. I don't want to explain it again. If you want to know more about this world I'm making up, my first video. Anyway, this guy's a crawler. He's on rejection. And he's nocturnal. He's kind of like a vulture this way, in the skull face, so he doesn't get his face too dirty. Kind of like vultures that have feathers. But anyway, yeah, my thought is this is the male version. I want to make a female version sometime. My thought is they're just huge. Like if I ever get a giant horse toy, I might want to try making a female. But anyway, now I'm also thinking they have nests, like ostriches. They have nests on the ground usually. Yeah, they're reptiles too, which is a bit strange because they're kind of like vultures. They eat dead stuff, but. Pretty creepy. The original plan was for them to have 4 long, skinny legs, but I didn't do that. I was drawing him, my sketch, I did a few sketches, and I ended up with 2 skinny back legs and 2 front arms. But yeah, this is an oil wash. It's very toxic. I don't really like it that much. I decided that after this. But anyway, I also want to talk a little bit about the Hive Queen. Not a whole lot to talk about. I talked a little bit about the scuttlers in my first video. Man, I keep saying that anyway. I'll talk a little bit about them in this video too. But yeah, basically they're half robotics, kind of like robotic on the inside. And they pick up oil and gasoline and take it back to the hive. And this is the queen. She doesn't go and get that oil and stuff. It powers her. And speaking of that, the crawler has a hive thing on its back that kind of grows on them. It looks like a scuttler hive, so the scuttlers are like, oh, well, I'll use that as a hive. So some of the worker scuttlers kind of turn that into their hive, and so the crawler is robotic on the inside, and he is powered by the oil and gasoline that the scuttlers put into his hive, because they think it's going down to the factory, like I talked about in my first video. But yeah, but that powers them because he's robotic on the inside. The original plan was then for them to be mostly robotic, but they somehow grew into their own creatures, so just sort of still robotic on the inside. I don't know why they have to eat if they're powered by fuel, like gasoline and oil. So they're not powered by oil, but you might be wondering, why is there gasoline on the planet, man? It has to be refined. Well, it goes from Earth to rejection. You know, the breaches between Earth and rejection. That's what I'm calling them. The portals or breaches. Yeah. That's pretty much all I have on them. Looks like I'm painting the bases. Yeah, I'm doing a red oxide. Yeah, see, I bought that paint recently, and I wanted to try it out. It was cheap. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to make this base look a little rusty. The other one's cracked ground, if you haven't noticed. Did I say that before? I might have said that before. Anyway, I'm trying to make a little bit of variation, like some of the things used to have color, but, you know, kind of rusted. I only put one barrel in there. I actually made two, if you didn't notice. These are the Army Painter grass tufts. You can probably make your own, but in the meantime, I have these already. With a you can probably make your own with static grass applicator. But anyway, coloring them with brown paint and then sticking them onto the base. Or brown paint mixed with water. That's what I'm coloring them with. And then I painted the sides with some black paint. May look kind of shiny right now, but it dries that matte, which is what I like. And they glue them to their bases. I made this look kind of easy, but it wasn't. This guy, I glued his feet on wrong, and later I had to fix it, and I didn't want to pull him off because they pulled the paint out. It was hard. Not too bad, but she was fine. The hive queen. But anyway, I believe that would be multiple builds completed. But anyway, here they are, the Crawler and the Scuttler Queen. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the Crawler. Scuttler Queen, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say, my next video might take a little while to come out. This one came out a little late, too. Sorry about that. But it was that, well, it took as long as 2 videos should come out. I should have had a video come out before this that didn't come out, but I didn't actually get it out. Ended up just doing this one. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.